2 of Alex Schlegel's drift build here. We got a bunch of little things going on. Gonna start a little bit of the chassis harness wiring. We're gonna take the stock gas tank out and cut the trunk for this man over here to make a fuel cell for us. We got all this beautiful room that we cleared up yesterday for our Pro Charger. So we're gonna hopefully get that mounted today and start mocking up some intercooler positions and hopefully get the front bash bar kind of situated.
How you doing, guys? Cricket here at Drift HQ. It's day 2. We're going to be cutting out the trunk of the drift car for Alex Schlegel. Chris is currently removing the gas tank. That way we can make room for a new fuel cell. Fuel-safe fuel cell. We're going to put his battery back there and a couple other goodies. So stay tuned.
I'm removing the factory hard lines underneath the car here that carry all the fuel to the front and back. So we're going to be replacing it with some larger diameter steel braided line and getting rid of the evap lines because obviously there's no more emissions on this car.
I am looking at all of the stuff I'm about to cut out and figuring out my parts list for materials that I need to make this a tube chassis rear end, fuel cell cradle, battery box, and mounts for the rear mount radiator.
I do. Press the on button on there. How much you think?
50 pounds.
Huh?
50 pounds.
50? You already weighed it. You cheating. You're full of shit.
Hey, that's close to 50 pounds.
God damn, you cheating, Nazi.
We took out the fuel tank, or Chris took out the fuel tank. I'm cutting out the exhaust to make room so we can cut out the rear end of this car. We're probably going to end up going with an oval exhaust from somewhere up there, back here, and dump it out just below the, right behind the rear tire.
Trying to figure out how to use this rear half of the pulley if I'm not putting AC on the car, which obviously we're not.
We're going to cut out some more weight since there is no FD regulation on the weight on this chassis. So we're going to take and cut the whole rear end out. What we're going to do is we're going to come up a lot farther to about 1.5 inches from here. And we're going to cut it all the way around. As we have over fenders for this car and the parts that it bolts into, I'm just going to add a bracket off of our bash bar. So we're going to cut it right at this body line, straight across, and take out the whole rest of this on both sides. Take out about another, 15 pounds, hopefully.
You just changed out the factory crank pulley for an ATI super damper. Gives you a little bit more torsional control and everything like that, so you have less crankshaft vibration go through your belt drive. Also upgrading to an 8-rib pulley setup so that we get less belt slippage on our supercharger. And then after installing the crank pulley, we went ahead and did the Pro Charger pin kit, which allows you to put a set pin on your crank so that your crank pulley doesn't spin inside there.
I ran out of painter's tape. just did is we cut out the rear end of Alex's car. To reduce weight and to make room, we are doing a rear mount radiator, a rear mount battery box for it, a fuel cell with a cradle, also a bash bar. So it is, we cut off the rear of this, so his over fender is actually connected down throughout the body of this car. So what I'm gonna have to do is when I make the bash bar for it, integrate you know, something to tie in his wide body kit so it stays nice and stable. But we cut out all this crap and we're gonna put on a really sweet bash bar for it. So in case he hits anybody, it doesn't do any body damage to the car. And I'll probably make 2 of them for him. They're gonna be removable. So when he's at FD, if something happens to it and it gets in the way of something, we're able to actually unbolt the bash bar and bolt up an exact same one so his bumper can fit over it. All of his over fenders and everything are plastic, so they'll fold in. Usually they don't break, depending on how cold it is. So that's what we're hoping for. The bash bar takes care of the problem and saves the fuel cell, the radiator, and the battery unit.
Next step is some supercharger goodies. Slipping this here Pro Charger into this here Pro Charger bracket.
We are at Bob Dean Supply, where we purchase our steel from. It's a local company here in Fort Myers. So we're going to get all the steel we need and materials for Alex Schlegel's car for the tube chassis rear end and front end. So let's hope they give us a good deal. The dog usually helps.
Because I couldn't put it on your account.
I am getting the 2x4 11 gauge for the cradle around the fuel cell. It's nice and strong. It can take an impact. Even if it does take an impact, it won't damage it. We want our driver to be as safe as possible, so we're going to give him this nice thick stuff. We're going to box around the fuel cell, and then we're going to take 120 wall DOM 1.5" tubing. That guy right there, 1.5", 120 wall DOM. Same stuff that is FD legal for the cage. So in case he gets an impact, it's all cradled, everything, so no chance of fires. And we're going to build a battery box too. This is the list for the rear end that I need. I need 15 square feet, or 15 linear feet of square stock, 16 gauge. I need 10 feet of 1-inch DOM tubing to make the battery box and cradle around the water pump. And I need to get 1/8" plate. I need about 4 square feet to make all of my boxing and stuff for the plates. Why I make a list is so I can make sure I don't forget anything. So I have to come here once, hopefully. Yeah, I'll take this one, and that other one. I'm gonna have to set them all to the side because I don't have something that I can carry all this shit in today. I'm trying to find drops for the steel. That way I don't have to buy a whole section of it because they usually sell them in 15 to 20 foot lengths. And the stuff that we're buying is really expensive, so if we can cut down and I can find the drops that I need and the sizes that I need, I'm only buying the amount of steel that I actually need to purchase and not having a bunch of extra where I make all my funny little design flowers and stuff. So all this stuff will get put to use. I try to do no waste, that way we save the customer as much money as I can.
So the issue we came across is that there's 3 belt drives on this as opposed to there only being 1 earlier. So one basically runs all the accessories off of an idler, one runs just from the 8 rib on the crank pulley to the supercharger, and then there's a smaller 4 rib belt that runs the AC typically. Now we're not running AC, but that same 4 rib belt right now is also going to drive that idler pulley that spins our accessories. So we need to find a solution, whether it be an AC delete kit, because obviously this car doesn't run any AC. So we're going to see what we can get through ProCharger and probably have some kind of solution for it. This is our secondary drive here. Now our primary drive will run from here up to the supercharger. Now there's a secondary 4-rib back here that's going to drive all of our accessories. So we just need to get the small belt set up here, maybe a idler pulley or something like that we can put in place of the AC compressor. Makes more sense, doesn't it?
A lot more stuff. Oh yeah.
Just trying to map out everything we need for the arc panel, figuring out what we need in the front or the back of the car. So for the front on this, because we have the rear-mounted radiator, we don't have any fans or anything up front, so we really only need a starter signal from our arc panel and our headlights.
Headlights. There you go.
Headlights. That's why you can't put me on the spot. Then, so everything else we pretty much have to run to the rear of the car: taillights, brake lights, 2 fuel pumps, electric water pump, radiator fan, and that should be about it. And then obviously power to our ECU and stuff inside the cabin and whatever else we might need, like gauges and stuff like that. Just setting out the base of wires so we can get them laid out before we put them in the car. It's easier to do some assembly before you mount the panel inside the car. So we set up most of the arc panel outside of the car, do as little work as possible inside the car because we don't have that much room. We wired up our basic circuits that we're going to need, so from there we can figure out whether those leads are going to go to the front of the car or toward the rear of the car. So because we got the rear mount radiator, we need our fan in the back, obviously both fuel pumps out there. The ignition was what's going to control our ECU, electric water pump also in the rear, headlight and taillight circuits, obviously headlights to the front, taillights to the back, and then the starter circuit obviously just to crank the engine over. So now we're going to start laying everything out in the car before we start looming so we get an idea of how long all of our wires need to be. This is going to be the wire that's going to run from the brake pedal to the taillights. For the brake lights.
I just made these plates for the back, so what we're going to do is we're going to plate off where the frame we cut off. And I'm going to pre-drill all my holes for it so we can actually bolt on the fuel cell cradle and then also the bash bar. So it'll be nice and easy. I'm going to pre-drill all the holes and I can weld my 2x3 stock on there, bolt it up, and we should be good to go. So these are going to go onto the frame rail like this. They're going to get a little bit higher because I got to add bolts to it. 4 bolts on each frame rail for the fuel cell cradle to hold on to. So there'll be one there, and then a mate for it that holds in the fuel cell cradle. It's 5:30. Gotta take a break. Cold one. Pip pip.
Solid brainstorming session.
My welder setup is a Miller 215, which is a multi-matic. It's a multi-process machine. I can do TIG, MIG, stick, wire, aluminum with a spool gun. Can't do TIG aluminum, so I'll be upgrading to a new machine soon or getting one just specifically for doing aluminum. But this thing's very light, portable, awesome. I got a FUPA 12 which is a furic cup. You can actually set the tungsten out about 3 inches and still get away with a nice bead on it. So you can get into tight areas with it if you need to. Really good for manifolds and such, but it does waste a lot of argon. So if you're worried about spending money on argon, go to Matheson, not Air Gas. It'll save you twice as much money. All right, let's weld these bad boys in place. We'll tack them first, and then we'll go through and put a bead down. For instance, to get up into this corner, I have to stick the tungsten all the way out to here to actually get it to get up in there. So this gas lens actually gets enough coverage to make a clean atmosphere for you to be able to weld that far up in it. Let's finish tacking this into place. So inside the frame, there's still grease, tire crap, all sorts of stuff. So when you're pushing the metal rod through, if it hits any of that stuff, it can arc out and spit out the filler rod. So what happened was I hit something in there with the filler rod and it spit out and landed on my tungsten. So I had to go sharpen it.
Today, we got most of the chassis harness laid out with the arc panel. Got most of our leads and everything ran in the right directions, but we need some more wire and a primary wire for our battery relocation as well. So we should have all that here tomorrow. Then probably get the engine harness put in place. We finished the Pro Charger install, which is awesome. Big shiny boy up front of the engine. And now Cricket's got to fab up some intercooler piping and the upper radiator support so we can make sure everything in the front end fits. So hopefully see some good progress tomorrow. Maybe get all our fuel components in place so we can get all our wires and everything finished.
So I'm just trying to get my hat. Oh, shit. Oh, there it goes. All right, so what we did today is we cut out the whole rear end of the car. We made plates for it. We have a nut on the back side of each plate that goes inside the frame rail. That way we can bolt it in and not have to worry about trying to fit a nut in there. The other ones we left open in case they strip out or something. So tomorrow we are going to take the fuel cradle and build it out of the 2x3 square stock mild steel, and we're gonna do the bash bars around it, put the rear bumper on if we have it here, and fit everything. And stay tuned tomorrow, we're gonna release another video. Like, subscribe, don't forget to comment, mention some homies in it, and maybe give us a shout out. Have a good night.